you only get so many of those opportunities, right?
What was your longest running one?
Since I got back in 2012.
Like ever, even when you were a kid, like your longest
Oh,
running.
in a kid, they were terrible. They never got, they never got anywhere. Um, um, there it was just playing. There was opportunities to play, and they happened because enough people showed up and we
Right.
played, right? So, and I'm just checking our stream to see if we're going live. And yeah, we did. We did. Yep.
Okay.
This is, this StreamYard was recommended by Tanker's Tavern as a really easy way to like the do it yourself for dummies, no cost, get a stream up, be able to record your shit, and also, get it streamed on YouTube. And so we're doing that.
Cool.
And he's right so far. So far, so good. So far, so good. So the first one I would say would have to be the second one. I got back in 2012.
Yeah.
Ran a well. There's two contenders. The first run getting out there was I had a really simplified sword and sorcery game to play Conan styled sword and sorcery as opposed to D&D styled sword and sorcery. I wanted
Okay.
human centric and all that, and
Right.
so I hacked a rules light system that someone had out there for free, and then I felt good. It's like, okay, I think I can run a game. I got a few things out of my system that I needed to burn out. And then there was I went back to the system that I really enjoyed is Chaosium's house system, BRP, the
Yeah.
D100.
Chaosium's always been one of yours. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it was a Clockwork and Cthulhu game, Black Powder, Solomon Kane era English Civil War, but demons and magic and black magic are all real. It's not,
Well, that sounds
like,
entertaining. It sounds like a good game setting. Yeah.
yeah. And the setting was based from English guys, Cakebread and Walton. Clockwork and Cthulhu is their setting, but it was the parliamentarian forces had clockwork technology, these big Leviathan machines that you had to actually like wind and they would work. What was his name? Not Galileo, but Da Vinci. That guy. All his tech,
Played
like
Oblivion. It was a game based in kind of the D&D Baldur's Gate system, except it was extremely dark about an immortal who lost all his memories that woke up in the morgue.
no, but that's fantastic.
God, what was the name of that? We played the
That's a
game for years with my
that's
oh
a
my
great like concept. Like, yeah, I can see how that gels. Especially, it's that one sounds
Torment.
like
It was called
you.
Torment.
It'd be easy for a game master to come up with that opening hook adventure,
Yep.
like because you just need that one good opening scene, setting adventure, and then let the players feed off the environment, and then the game should start running itself.
Yep.
Is the hope
Oh yeah.
from my old school seat, right?
Well, so I will say, oh God, I'm kind of annoyed. It's 5 after. We don't have the rest of our crew.
I know. It's like, what does it take to keep a game alive? But the players that showed up were really good, and the mixture of being able to do some black powder with some fantasy, and I riffed off of a lot of Lamentations products because they were set in that time,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of interesting. The strength in their products was a lot of interesting non-player characters, which I thought, and some really good. English setting stuff. We were playing in Norwich, and like the modules were filthy with easily ported English styled modules, and the players were really excellent. That one went for 3 years, but two and a half, 3 years.
Years, man.
Yep. And it was every other week. It was the same as this. It was going pretty hot for a while. There was some months where it breaks down, and people are on vacation, and things aren't working out. You may not see a game for a month and a half or two.
Yep.
But then it would get back into the 2 or 3 a month. So, but I hear a lot of people like they play weekly, or they're playing a lot more frequently than I think the games I'm running. But I think the mileage that the players and I, like you've experienced, we're getting some mileage out of the game time.
Yeah. So I'm good
is
for 1 a week, right? And I mean, when I was younger, we used to play more than that. But so when I'm working again, I'm going to be on the road again, right? Which means I don't know what freaking nights I'm going to be out. And we played that weird Sunday morning interval for a while when it was you, me, and Andy. That was a good run. That was what, 8-9 months of we hit every one of those. And
Yeah. Yeah.
what
And now
was
I
his
don't have
name?
Sundays. I don't have Sundays anymore. I work a job where I
Yeah,
don't
you're
have
on the
Sunday
job. Yeah.
mornings. I'm like 6 in the morning,
Remember the young
and
guy played the
home.
super speedster with us for a while? He was fun. I'm trying to remember his name.
I want to say Cody, but it wasn't. But it was Red Runner, and
Yes.
I can't
I,
even.
I, I so enjoyed how I tormented him
Red
on the if you
Runner.
want to save all the lives, you have to kill all the
Uh
people. Which
huh.
is it?
Yeah. No, you won't win me over on that argument. Andy was right on that one.
What? I pushed it too hard?
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you revisit it, I heard Andy's
It's
side. I
okay.
still.
No. I get if you disagree. I really enjoyed that. And if it didn't work for someone else, I respect the fact it didn't work for someone else. I love that part.
Yep. Yep. Um, and then I had a really good 3 year, and these all kind of like dovetail, like one game's ending and another one's starting to begin. But basic Dungeons and Dragons, I managed to pull that off, and that was another. You realize each one of these is a personal mission of mine. Like
They
I
are.
have like I have something I need to like figure out. And it's like, okay, it's time to return back to my first love, basic Dungeons and Dragons. But I want to run like kind of like my vision of what that would look like.
Yep.
Not World of Greyhawk, though there is elements of
Oh,
that.
Greyhawk.
Not
God, I
this
forgot
or
about Greyhawk.
that, but it's really comes from the Appendix N, like the original creators. The books they read were the same fantasy 50s and 60s fantasies I read. And I get like I could read between the lines, and it always became Lord of the Rings with elves and dwarves. And there's a theme here. I start getting frustrated with elves and dwarves because I always remember like a Sword and Planet feel, like Gondolin or whatever, the last continent on Earth, and some human character thrust in a weird world, and they weren't elves and dwarves. There was a lot of strange Dungeons and Dragons like fantasy adventure.
What was the one that
And
played?
so I hit that, and I used a lot of, if you would, Dying Earth influence and all that. Sword
Dying
and
Earth was pretty
Planet.
good though. Dying Earth is a pretty solid setting.
Yeah. But you take those influences like you are enthused about, and use the game system that is like D&D basic is perfect for those genres. And I finally just like got it out of my head. Like I don't have to run Ghost Tower of Inverness to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. I can actually use these rules to run.
Have a copy of the Ghost Tower of Inverness?
Yeah, and I never liked it. People like it. I fucking hate that tower. I hate it.
Yeah, but that's pretty obscure, man.
Well, I was there when this shit was. I've been playing this shit for a while. Yes, yeah. I was playing D&D when they started making it. I started D&D as soon as it was available. I didn't know it was something I wanted, but as soon as it was available on the market, I was like, "Yep."
Yeah, but it's not like the Steeding of the Frost Giant that everybody played. Ghost Tower of Inverness, that's pretty niche.
Yeah. There's to some people it is. Some people, that's probably is a keystone in their campaigns. There's
British, but you played with a lot of European guys, didn't you?
Yep, because because of that Sunday morning time slot.
Right.
It was tea time for Europeans on a Sunday afternoon. So that's where that just jived with some players. Until it didn't. Like a lot of those Sunday games ended because the people couldn't commit to that Sunday morning. There's like, yeah, it's time to give up this, this time
Every
to other
game runs until
activities.
it
And
doesn't.
that's, hmm?
You know, every game runs until it doesn't. So
Yep.
what I really like about your capital city, besides the fact you get, the maps and the franchises and the good neighborhoods and the mobsters and all of that, which has been an amazing setting, is, and I know you kited a bunch of it, but you also, a lot of that is uniquely you, right?
Well, thanks. That's the job. That's the work we're trying to do, isn't it, Mike?
Well, sure, but a lot of it is uniquely you. I'm wondering is, at whatever point, is there a reset for Capital City? Because Metal's the only common character at this point, and she's gone from street level to definitely world class, and she's approaching the cosmic crowd. And I'm wondering, of all the things we learned about Capital City, the magical backgrounds and the 3 universities that you were talking about with Anthony, and the casino and all this, I'm wondering if there's ever a day one again for Capital City, what it looks like.
I wouldn't know because we got like you're getting into the power scales, but we haven't had a huge like nemesis villain yet to start to push against these power scales yet. I felt outside of like, government entities or organized, terrorist organizations.
Well, there hasn't been an arch villain, right?
But so I don't know. That's what haunts me in my dreams is like these questions will never be answered because the nature of role-playing games, you open up these possibilities. The game never moves far enough,
right,
with everyone at the table to make it happen because it doesn't happen without us, right? Like we could be gaming right now, but not enough people are here.
Yeah, so I know we don't have the
crew. We're not.
So I played one of my campaigns way back in the day, Crystal Cities and Four Hells. Played all the way through to the end. They scourged through all 4 layers of hell. They mastered the Crystal Cities. They beat the Mind Flayers at the end. Huge titanic battle, right? Where they opened a gate where all the 2-headed hellhounds that rampage the endless dust plains of hell, they just, fed into the Mind Flayer city, right? And they got to the epic battle. It is one of the few games I've played in, let's just say, a very large number of years. It felt like it had a coherent ending, like it finished.
I felt like if this game ended right now, there's been enough, what I want to say, I'll do it in air quotes, finishes within what I see is, what I mean specifically is moments where I've seen some growth as a game master,
right?
Specifically for superhero. I've been able to do things I wasn't able to do before, or I didn't know how to do because I had players at the table and I was able to do it and spend the time doing it. But I've seen players also going, God damn it, I've finally got a game that I can sink my teeth in.
Yep.
And it's hard to give that kind of commitment when you don't have that environment. It really is a give and take, and seeing players take advantage of the creative space that we're all set queuing up.
Right.
And then when that starts to happen, on any given day, a player is, I think, and I'm just reading between the lines, is finding their game. They're finding things that I don't know about, but you're achieving some goals that you set out as a player character, as a player experience, I guess.
Right.
Like sometimes you don't get to. Sometimes the games don't last long enough to cover the ground you need to get there.
Well, agreed. And, we're not high school kids anymore, right? Because when you're in high school, you can, let's play on Tuesday and get on Thursday.
Yep. Till 4:00 in the morning. Like I can't do that. I'd love to play for 6 hours, but physically after 3 hours, it's like, I just don't think I can keep my brain focused enough to be a good participant.
Yeah. I've done actually, thinking about it, the Crystal Cities and Four Hells was the great one that finished.
Mhm.
But I had a couple, maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 12 that felt like they actually came through to a conclusion. But Capital
Mhm.
City is just a place with a lot of shit going on. And it doesn't strike me
Mhm.
that there would be an actual conclusion. When I ran, God, not Schism. I had 4 or 5 rotating casts of villains,
Mhm.
right? Oh, this is
Well,
an episode with these guys, and oh, this is
mhm.
because I tried to do. I
Mhm.
like the Claremont X-Men thing, right? Oh no, today you're facing the 5 Furies of the Desert. Oh, I remember them from last time we saw them.
Mhm. Yeah,
So that when you saw the 5 Furies, that was the kind of adventure this was.
it's the curse of the comic book genre,
How's that?
right? As in, I queued up this setting to try to run a pretty, like, in my ideas, a pretty contemporary 4-color comic book world.
Yeah.
This is definitely has my, like, I grew up reading comics and really thinking about them passionately, probably late 80s and 90s through the 90s. And so you're going to, I guess, is that would be called the Iron Age? Is that Iron Age is the 90s?
So the late 80s, early 90s, you're talking about the Teen Titans in their glory days when that was Marv Wolfman, and that
Mm-hmm.
was Chris Claremont's X-Men, and that was
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or Dark Horse Comics. Dark Horse Comics really started to be a nice mix with 4-color comics. But anyways,
Dark Horse. Are you talking about Grendel? What book are you talking about?
all of them. I guess Dark Horse Presents. Their digest is where they. Now I'm starting to meander. Let me get right back to the point. Is I definitely tried to give a really traditional DC Marvel contemporary superhero world.
Which you did great. You've done excellent.
Like there's not, it doesn't tilt one extreme hard heavy to one way or the other, like maybe like The Crow with a lot of body horror and street level death, to one side of galactic beyond power scope. We're kind of just like, if you went to a comic rack today
Yep.
and picked up a comic, you would hit something we're doing in the game.
Comics got, once you left the 90s, got a little more vague, and it got, like, if you pick up a book now, you're going to see a lot of, they assume you know what Spider-Man can do. They assume
Well, I guess
you
to
know
say,
all about Batman.
my mistake. I'm saying when I say comics, I'm always thinking superhero, and comics doesn't mean superhero. And that's my conceit. I have to pay attention to out there to people. Comics mean a lot more. I mean, I know anime and this, that, blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't mean underground Harry, R. Crumb or something like that's why I call it's a superhero role playing. We got people in tights with extraordinary powers that really.
Yeah.
That's the trick. That's comic books. That's what we're talking about.
I was reading the last Green Lantern arc where the central power battery failed and Hal didn't need a battery anymore because he became a ring, and just all of them were really struggling. And it was a really good story arc, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was chatting about it in, I don't know, one of these Facebook groups, and people are weirdly mad about it. And I'm like, you're not reading this anymore. You have a favorite story arc from like 10 or 12 years ago, and this will always be the Green Lanterns to you. That's like you have a
yeah.
You have a favorite run of whatever it is you have a favorite run of.
Mm-hmm.
And
the curse of comic books is the serial nature.
Right.
It continues and continues. How many more times can you take the extraordinary and the weird and the bizarre coincidence, blah, 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 everything that we've read since we were a kid, and respin it? Because there's always the robot behind, the Aunt May behind, the genetic manipulation between, no, it was God and Santa Claus and magic, to it. You can always just keep on extrapolating, changing it. Like you said, a reset. Of course you can reset. Or, if you play the game in that world long enough, you're going to do everything again and again.
Tell you what, Jay, because obviously we don't have a session tonight,
No.
is I am game for the way you play it, and obviously I enjoy Megs. But man, whatever you're setting, you're throwing people in. Who's your is Butters a friend of yours? I'm not sure what the guy's real name is.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's from England.
Okay.
He's just very specific in what type of game he likes to play in.
Yeah, so
Like
I'm
he
not
doesn't want to.
particularly
He's
specific.
mhm.
I'm not particularly specific.
That's the problem. I'm generally specific. If I'm running a game, I'm running it like I'm being specific.
Well, sure, and
I go the
obviously
distance.
I love.
But yeah, I would give you a nod anytime. Like, okay, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring on this. I'll definitely.
Oh yeah. So obviously I've been playing Megs for 25, 30 years, since the very, very beginning, right?
Mhm.
And it's my very favorite of games. But I don't want to be so tied to that, because something you said when we very first started this is you were stunned that some of these guys just play champions. And my wife was laughing about I got grumped at on some Facebook group because I'm chatting about it's I don't know, something completely nebulous, something Green Lantern or Justice League or whatever. And it's the guys that get mad are always the ones who play champions. The people who are going to be pissed off about something are always the champions guys.
So this is live stream. We're just gonna call it anti-live champion screed.
Well, no,
because I get it. No, it's
enjoy
funny.
champions if you like. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with champions.
Yeah,
I'm
this
saying
is just
anyone that's going to be
anecdotal
mad,
information.
anyone that's going to be mad about Wolverine doesn't do that are going to be the champions guys. But
Yep. No player carried over, and I think the world. I mean, it was Capital City. There was no change. I mean, I ran the same game. The only change was in the system because it was getting. I felt in the way I wanted to run the game. As you can see, and Andy was very adamant about pacing.
yes,
And you can see him like I'm this manic for like trying to get some brisk pace because I know we got some good stuff to swim in and we're going to get a limited time to do it.
Yep.
And,
no, so I agree, and it's one of the things I like about Megs as opposed to some of those creatures out of the 90s is it does kind of move along nicely. You know, but it's I'm not married to it either, right? It moves along nicely. The pace is nice.
The like in the power scale, because so far this is the only system for superheroes that hasn't let me down in that way. Like I've started to like totally relax. Like I don't care the power scale. The system internal logic handles it just fine. So here's the other thing on that. What was it? No. I guess that was just it. Yeah, the power scale doesn't freak me out because Meg seems to handle it really well.
Well, it doesn't matter what you're doing. I have someone that's trying to drive a train into a supernova. I have a giant praying mantis that's trying to attack a telepath. It's mechanically so smooth as opposed to some of these other games. Because that's one of the things that dinged me a bit about Champions and a bit about, well, Fast Rep is similar. Or about Heroes, I guess. Is this unless this, and then this roll, and then this, and it's like, you're just slowing down the pace of action, right? It just slows the story down so much.
And here's and this is where I get in trouble on forums. It's what I challenge for. It's all reaction to fear. I'm a game master. Things are happening. I don't know what to do. Let's do another roll. Let's go through another mechanic. Let's get another result. But it still leads you to the same place. You have a result, and you've got to call the ball and the strike. So I feel for the umpire. Well, that's, sports analogy, like the umpire behind the plate. You just got to call it. Someone may yell at you, but the fucking game will never get going if you keep on freezing up.
Yeah.
And are you just delaying the inevitable, which is the players are asking you what happened, what's going on?
So my oldest daughter used to play Megs with us. My oldest daughter used to play Megs with us, and she played this kind of cat creature. One part sneak thief, one part kind of transformed cat, giant cat thing. I'm like, okay, cool. And I played with my old Thursday night crew. Lots of fun. They were not decisive people. Princess Jennifer was in HR, right? She's a human resources person, lovely person. But she was always striving for consensus. and had the hardest time being decisive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this
Mm-hmm.
kind of an action game, it doesn't matter if they're gunfighters or FBI agents or superheroes, is so many of the people you meet are not decisive people. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
maybe that's to your fear answer is, oh, well, what do you
Mm.
do? And I'm like, do you dive in? And it's like, and it's like, okay, 5,
Mm-hmm.
4, 3, go, 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 go. Is a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of people have problems having to make decisive action.
Well, it's not even that harsh, Mike, and I'm with you. And I got to remind myself of this. Is it's just in general life, you being decisive is a bit of a disadvantage socially in our construct in one and out and in the workplace. You just need to like, wait a minute, let's slow down. What should I do? I need to consider this, that, and the other thing before I just go do what seems the most straightforward thing to me. Like you in games, or at least me, I engage to give myself that challenge where, well, in the real world, I can always push back and say, I can be indecisive because one, it's rewarded because I won't make a mistake and, I'll just do the next best thing. I don't know. But in a game, that's why I'm in it for, is to have that rush of consequence to
Yes.
make that snap decision and not worry about the consequence.
But you're a pretty decisive guy, though. And what I do
Yes.
professionally, for lack of a better word, is I have to be a decisive guy. It's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people who run into the and I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I haven't had to learn to. That's the other reason I guess I like being game masters, learn to be better a social person.
I tell you what do we like? Because Diamond says he's available after Christmas. Just so you
Awesome.
got stuff going on, right?
Awesome. Tell them that's the best news we've heard all fucking night.
Well, I just have a hey. I know there's been a couple of odd times it's just been you and me, and we've just chatted, and I find these an enjoyable discussion.
Michael, I have, and here's what I've been going around in my head in this conversation. I haven't given space. I want to say, here's how you are an excellent player in a superhero role playing game with your character. One, you had some concepts, but you were willing to start giving them up if they didn't work for you,
right,
and the way you thought you were going to get some enjoyment out of the setting. That's a good thing, because you're going to get stuck with a superhero character for a long time. Like if you don't, and who's going to come up with the perfect concept to begin with? A superhero is a complicated character, so you gave yourself a chance to play it for a while before you started making decisions about what is this character about.
Well, thank you.
And that was really good. And Andy did the same thing too. So once you were able to start doing that, then it became easy for you to play in the setting because you knew what foot you were going to lead off on.
Well, you, me, and Andy met all the same day, and I didn't figure him and I would be the ultimate libertarian superheroes, right?
Not at all. And that's what you got, which was fine, because there was a lot of Nazis to punch in the face just hanging around, and that was just that's you gotta have some tropes in the goddamn universe, right? There were secret organizations and there's thugs, and there's so much more we haven't uncovered, but yeah.
So I tell you what, the 8th
and the head shooting, like
the head shooting.
No, I was really happy when you noticed that you had a vigilante up in the bleacher seats that was an NPC, and Andy was like, "No, wait a minute, they're fucking head shooting Nazis. This is this is a level of violence. We're going to address that at a later date."
So it has been a great game, and don't get me wrong, it's been great playing Metal, but she's a royal ass kicker at this point.
That's fine. The game can handle it.
All right, no, all good with it, all good. And don't get me wrong, Olympian's pretty well keeping up, but everyone except for Olympian we've left in the dust.
Yep. Yeah. No, because But we'll just that's a comic book trope, right?
It is.
You've got Batman and Robin. We got different power levels. How does that look like out in the streets?
So,
So
brother,
far, I think it's going to come together. I think it's going to come together fine.
well, it like I said, it's been a great game, and however it transforms. But I'm gonna
You
pop
got to
it. What are we
go.
looking for next? What's your thought?
It's going to have to be at the beginning of the new year. Diamond said he's not available till after
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yep.
So it's reset for the beginning of the year, and we'll float a meet date for that.
Okay.
As
So
far as
the eighth is a nightmare day for me, right? I'm going to be busy from sunrise to sunset,
Okay.
or 25. That's going to be my nightmare day. So as long as you don't tag the eighth, we should be good.
Fantastic. Don't do the 8th. Don't look like it's going to be a problem. We're all set. I'll talk to you later.
Excellent. Talk to you later, man.